I mean, come on. This is getting freaking out of hand. It is completely ridiculous, and it's not getting the attention or the reporting it needs to get. And a lot of that is because the name just isn't big enough. It wouldn't make like nationwide headlines. Not like Marcus Lemonis. Obviously, Marcus Lemonis from Camping World made big headlines. Golden parachute, click, check. Flying into another company to become CEO and president, check. Making tons of money on the way, check. But this name just isn't big enough for the industry and the nation to really care, but you should. Welcome to HB RV Lifestyle, the podcast. I'm the host, John Levingston, aka the Honey Badger, here to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business, as well as some other things. Now, part of what I'm going to discuss is speculative. It is speculation, specialist. Anyway, it is going to be based in a lot of fact, and it's going to be based on an article in rvbusiness.com, and I'm going to link it in the description box below so you guys can read it a little bit later. Now, if you haven't heard, the last of the Tiffins have left Tiffin Motorhome. Well, it may not be the last, but Leigh Tiffin, president of Tiffin Motorhomes, which was bought out by Thor Motor Coach, has resigned and left the company to jump into one of the best retail positions he could possibly be in as president of an RV company that is, let's say, there's speculation out there they're going public. And that's National Indoor RV. Now, I don't know if that will happen. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if there really is going to be an IPO or anything of that nature. But it sure seems weird that you leave a company that your grandfather built into a beast. Then, wait a minute, watch this. Then you were given, with Van, you were given the opportunity to build your own fifth wheel and towable line under the Tiffin brand. Use the same processes, use the same things, but you didn't want to take over the motorhomes. You allowed Bob to sell it to Thor rather than keeping it private. Let's see, what company did that and really got in deep doo-doo water? Oh yeah, Lance. That's a whole episode on its own. Oh, what happened to Lance Manufacturing? It went from this amazing, wonderful product to, let's cheapen the product up and jack up the price because it has the word Lance on it. Now, I'm not saying that Tiffin does that, okay? I'm not going to say that. I'm not even going to speculate that, all right? That's a motion because I've been going through so much with Lance. It's just ridiculous, okay? I mean, I used to sell that and it was just this amazing product, and now it's just gone to dog doo-doo real quick, unfortunately. And the guy I thought that could get him out of it, unfortunately, they're taking a lot of steps backwards. But I digress. That's a video for another day. So why would this occur? Well, when I'm talking to people over the phone, because I decided, you know what, it's been a while, let me reach out to some of my contacts. There's three thought patterns behind why this is happening. Thought pattern number one is Thor is sick of, basically, it was called the couch potato. Let's sit back and collect a check. That is speculation from some folks that I talked to, and it basically was either resign or we're going to fire you. So you get a nice, now even though there might not be a monetary golden parachute, we don't know that yet until obviously that gets released, whenever Thor Industries does their quarterly report, whenever they decide to pay that out, if they pay it out. But you basically step out of a position of the factory straight into a company that is allegedly going public, and you haven't worked a bloody day in your life for that company, and you're stepping right in as president. You know, if I was a high-ranking executive, a general manager, a vice president of that company, I'd be freaking pissed right now. I mean, you just literally brought this guy over to tout the name to what? Spike up maybe a buy-in on your IPO? I mean, I don't know. This is all speculative. This is all opinion-based. So I don't know what the truth is. I mean, we'll never find out what the truth is. Let's put it like that. We'll never know. I do know that Lay blocked me when I was trying to reach out to him a couple years ago with some motorhome problems that were going on with the Wayfair. I had a ton of people contacting me saying that Tiffin wasn't taking care of business when it came to some warranty claims, and that they were dragging their feet. And there were some really pissed off people that I ended up telling them, hey, contact Liz Amazing. She knows she can help you out with that. And instead of, hey, this is the contact information, the cell phone number, or the direct office line to the guy that really helps out with that, he just blocked me on LinkedIn. So, I mean, I can see where people have speculated that he became a couch potato at Tiffin Motor Coach. There's a second opinion about it. And the second opinion is that under his leadership, Tiffin has bled money. That it's losing its luster, it's losing its name, a lot like Lance has on the camper and travel trailer side of things. That even though it stood the test of time for so many years under Bob Tiffin's leadership, who was an amazing man when it came to manufacturing, a very innovative mind, a very amazing human being. And basically living on your laurels, trying to maximize profit per copy rather than looking for repeat business, kind of acting one and done. And a lot of that, guys, comes from, and this is why I tell people a lot, that when you research a brand, whether it's under the Thor umbrella, Forest River, look at the longevity of the management under that division. Best way to do that is contact the brand, find out who the general manager is, and then look at them on LinkedIn. So if you go look at a lot of manufacturers, general managers have about an 18 to 24 month shelf life. A lot like sales managers and finance managers in the auto and RV industry at the dealership level. I have been a part of that, where like I knew taking a job, it's a year and a half. So you just shove as much stuff out the door as you humanly can, because they're going to fire you anyway, because motion creates emotion. They start thinking you're going to get lazy and complacent. So even though you might spike the numbers, you might have growth, they say, well, he's just going to get lazy and lay back now he's got things set. So we don't want that. We'll get rid of him and bring somebody fresh in. And that's the mindset of a lot of dealerships in every single niche, whether it's Cadillac, GM. Now, there's exceptions to that, guys, okay? There are a lot of exceptions, but they're not the rule. So you have these guys who think, well, I'm not going to have a job in a year and a half, so let me make as much money as I humanly can. Now, that's not even the majority of the factory side, guys. I want to make that very clear. That is a very small percentage of the actual management over in Indiana or Oregon, etc. Now, with that being said, and this is going back to number 2 opinion, if you go back and look at most of the products that have been reported on that have the major issues continually, except for Grand Design and Brinkley, set them aside because Don Clark's been there and Brad Smith and you got Nate Goldenberg and the Phoenix and all them, set them aside. They're a different animal, okay? When they have a major problem, they don't go fire people. They go do whatever they're going to do. A lot of times, it's brands that have a lot of turnover in management, a lot of turnover in regional salespeople. When you have a general manager that has been at a brand, even as a product manager moving up to a GM, those products don't seem to have the major problems that some others do. I'll give you a great example of this. One of my favorite products to sell for the longest time was Coachman Freedom Express. Okay. Bob Dumm was the GM and actually worked at Coachman Freedom Express. He's now the president of Coachman, at least as far as I'm aware. And that product continued to get better. Not to say they didn't have problems, not to say there wasn't people that didn't have major issues, but it was very minimal and they were always trying to solve problems. Any product that a man named Don Gundon was a part of. Don is an amazing human being. Thank God he's retired, probably fly fishing somewhere in Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, wherever. Hopefully he's catching a lot of trout. That man, anything he touched would, again, improve over time. Rockwood, Flagstaff, amongst other products. You look at a lot of Keystone products. Not all of them, but a lot of them have the same management team that they've had or same internal people that have moved up in that brand and up in that process for years. That's why you see a lot of Keystone Cougars have survived the test of time. So it would make, number 2 would make sense. It doesn't mean that it's true. But if you go look at the old Jayco stuff, you go look at even some of the newer Jayco stuff, you go look at a lot of the brands that have been battle tested through the time, not the company, the brand. The ones that have stood the test of time are the people that are quiet. Go look at my TikTok. Go look at all the videos I did on TikTok where I started out by this negative statement for the first minute. You start seeing people come on like, oh yeah, I've owned a Forest River product, or I've owned a Cougar, or I've owned a Jayco, or I've owned a Genesis Supreme, or a Grand Design, or whatever the case may be, for years, for a decade, for 10 years, 12 years, and it's been, it's not without its problems, but nothing major. Okay. So and that brings me back to something real quick before I get to number 3. And I'm going to mention this and go into a deeper dive next week, starting for season 6 of the podcast. Notice that I've changed the way that I'm doing the podcast episodes. And now they're going viral on TikTok. In the last week, I've had over 500,000 views between 3 podcast episodes. And if you start looking, I'm starting to finally tap in and reach the people that are owners that are either happy with their product or content with their product. And they're actually putting in the comments exactly what I've been saying for 4 years. I mean, the super majority of people are okay with their product or happy with their product. They're not having major Armageddon level problems that Liz Amazing wants you to make you think there is. Now, Liz does it for monetary gain and monetary process. Not necessarily a bad thing, guys. I wish people would stop saying that I'm saying it's a bad thing. I'm a capitalist. Shit, if I was making as much money as she was, I'd freaking do the same thing. So a third opinion that people I've talked to over the phone have been saying is that how do I put this without sounding like an asshole? That employees of the Tiffin brand were pretty much to the point of mutiny if he didn't leave. Now, out of all three opinions, I think that's the least likely. I just can't see, because it's such a small community and a small industry, that I could not see an entire group of employees basically walking off the job if he decided to stick around with Tiffin and not leave. I believe there's something in between. If I were to put my own opinion and my own hypothesis together, I would say that he probably was offered a stupid amount of money, and because things have gotten really tough over in the motorized side, especially with Tiffin and Thor Motor Coach, that I think he took the easy way out and saw an opportunity to make a quick buck. Because, I mean, what is he going to do over there that they already don't do? I mean, National Indoor RV Center is one of the better run companies in the RV industry. It is a well-oiled machine. So what is Lay really going to do? He's a face and a name for an initial, price offering or what purchase offer or whatever the hell they call it. That would be my opinion. If they're going to go public, it's basically to put him as the face of the company, the name on the sheet, so people can go look and say, "Hey, look, Bob Tiffin's grandson went over there. That must be a good thing." It's like all the AI crap. It's all a bunch of bullshit, and that's just my opinion. It doesn't mean it's true, but that's just how I look at things. Until next time, remember that RV always stands for toolkit and sense of humor.